Hello, Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, you disappeared for a bit and then came back.
Yeah, it disconnected. I got disconnected from the system. Okay, so please go ahead and let's just do a voice check. Can you all hear Michael?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me.
Okay, great. So everyone, I just want to apologize for that. We had a slight technical issue, so it looks like the volume is back on. You can hear Michael. So Michael, we've started recording this session, so you could go ahead and get started with the presentation. Thanks.
Okay. So thanks again, everyone, for joining me. I am Michael Cuneo, Assistant Director of Admissions at Johns Hopkins Carey Business School. So I'm going to tell you a little bit today about Johns Hopkins and about the graduate business programs we offer. So we do have different programs. Some are MBA. Whoop, looks like it jumped. Sorry. There we go. So I'll tell you about the school and how we fit in with Johns Hopkins, which I'm sure many of you have heard of, and then our curriculum, our faculty and career development programs, and then the application requirements, scholarships, and deadlines. So I'm sure most, if not all of you, have heard of Johns Hopkins. It's one of the oldest universities in the United States. It is the oldest research university, founded in 1876, and Carey Business School is the newest of the 9 divisions at Hopkins. So many of you have heard of Hopkins for the hospital or for the School of Medicine, but they're also an excellent school of engineering. And we have now we Carey Business School here as well. So even though Carey Business School is new, Hopkins has been doing business education for about 100 years now. 2016 will be our 100th anniversary. We just in the past had part-time programs that were for people in the Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. areas here in the United States. When we became Carey Business School in 2008, we started full-time programs that we started bringing in students from all around the world, and hopefully some of you will be able to participate in that and join us for your business education. So we have these 7 areas of business study, and you will find most schools in the U.S. have similar areas. They'll have others that we don't have, and they won't have some of the ones we have. But these are, especially finance and marketing, are pretty core business areas of study that you will find throughout business schools in the U.S. Our dean calls these 7 areas the biggest challenges in business today, the biggest challenge areas. And as you know, For business, challenges always present opportunities. And these have become our applied focus areas, which are concentrations for the MBA program and also one-year specialty master's degrees. So you do have some choice there as to how and what you want to study. Again, we have a full-time Master of Business Administration. We have a one-year Master of Science degrees, and we have some MBA dual degrees with some other schools in the Baltimore area. The Global MBA takes place in our Baltimore, Maryland campus. Baltimore, if you're not familiar with it, is on the east coast of the United States and is about 40 miles north of Washington, D.C. So if you know where D.C. is, you have a pretty good idea of where Baltimore is. The MBA is a 2-year, 54-credit program. For the most part, it does require work experience. Our preferred minimum is 2 years, but there are some exceptions to that. And if you are a fresher or have less than 2 years work experience, we can certainly discuss whether you would be a good fit for the MBA program. The MBA, like all of our full-time programs for international students, starts with a summer intensive. Then goes into an orientation for all students, whether they're U.S. residents or international. And part of that is what we call the managerial toolkit. So we have a lot of students who are coming from non-business backgrounds. If you're not, weren't a BCom as an undergrad, didn't do finance, perhaps you're an engineer or in medicine, don't worry, you're still a good fit for a graduate business program. And we use orientation to sort of get you up to speed and ready for the classroom with some of the people who may have business backgrounds. Year one starts with core business and management courses. These are done in a cohort setting. So you'll be with the same group of about 40 or 45 other students for that entire first year in a set regimen in classes. Those classes include two really incredible experiential learning projects. They are real-life consulting projects with real clients outside of the school. And those are Innovation for Humanity and Discovery to Market. In the summer, between years 1 and 2, our Career Development Office works with you to identify and help you apply for summer internships, which is a key part of your training. And then in year 2, you choose one of the concentrations, and you can do electives as well. So our concentrations for the MBA are real estate and infrastructure, financial businesses, marketing, healthcare management, enterprise risk management, and entrepreneurship. We not yet have approval, but pretty soon, hopefully this fall, we will also be doing a general management concentration if that more broad general MBA education interests you. We also have 1-year specialty master's degrees. These do not require any work experience. They're exactly 12 months, so you would go to school from August to August of the next year, 36 credits, and depending on which program you're interested in, you would either be at the Washington, D.C. campus or the Baltimore, Maryland campus. They're structured rather similarly, with the summer intensive, again, for international students, orientation, then all students do some business foundation classes, but mostly classes for the Master of Science degrees will be the functional core, and that's the area of study for the degree. And then there are a few electives that might give you a more focused concentration in an area that's part of that functional core. So the functional cores, the master's degrees we offer, we have a master in real estate infrastructure with the DC campus. Financial businesses, or finance, if you will, Baltimore or DC, you can choose. Marketing in Baltimore. Healthcare management, also in Baltimore. We have very good synergy with our healthcare management program and concentration. due to the proximity to the Johns Hopkins Hospital and the School of Medicine, as well as the School of Public Health and the School of Nursing. We have enterprise risk management and also have an MS degree in information systems. We also have some dual degree programs. You'll find many business schools in the United States have similar dual degrees. One of our newest ones and more interesting ones, I think, is the MBA JD, which takes place with the University of Maryland School of Law. So you actually get the opportunity to go to two different schools. I hesitate to mention our MBA MD with the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. As you probably know, the Johns Hopkins School of Medicine is one of, if not the hardest school of medicine in the world to gain admission to. But if you do gain admission to it, would have an opportunity to do a MB and an MD at the same time. We also have an exciting new program, an MBA, MA in Design Leadership with the Maryland Institute College of Art. This is a degree for people who come from creative backgrounds, perhaps, architecture, design, graphic design, that sort of thing, who want to take their creative endeavors to the next step and get some business acumen to help them join creativity and business to make a profitable enterprise. We have, of course, incredible faculty and a great career development program, and I want to tell you a little bit about those. We currently have 71 full-time faculty on the research and practice track, and we complement those with leading faculty from the other Johns Hopkins schools where necessary. So we really, you're not just focused on business. When necessary, we add a little bit of depth to the classroom experience by bringing in teachers from the School of Medicine, the School of Public Health, or Engineering. We have 5 visiting scholars. In the past year, we've had 45 guest lecturers, and we complement our full-time faculty with 20 senior professional instructors. And those are folks from the areas leading nonprofit, corporate, and government organizations that are actually out there working in the business world that bring their experience to the classroom. Then we also have what we call executives in residence. We bring in executives from corporations around the world. They spend a few months with their offices moved to Carey Business School, and they work on teach in the classroom and work on projects, network with students, that sort of thing. So lots of exciting opportunities to learn from not just faculty experts, but experts from all around the business world. We have an incredible career development office. They're kind of devoted into 2 sections. One is employer relations. They're the people that go out and make and maintain the relationships with companies that hire our students for internships and, of course, for jobs after graduation. More importantly, or what you see more directly as a student, are the coaching and education side of the house. Students get career coaches. They provide workshops, boot camps. They're constantly working with our students to help you with interview skills, to help you with the obvious things like resume, but really also getting in depth with you, doing skills assessment, which means, you come from a certain background. You want to get another kind of job when you graduate. What do you need to do during that time with us to develop the skills that you don't have to get that post-graduation job? So they really get under the hood and work very closely with our students for the entire time that our students are in a program. It's almost like classroom outside of the classroom to prepare our students for internships and work after graduation. Here are some of the many companies that have come and done information sessions or networking events on campus and hired our students after doing interviews on campus. You can see they're from all kinds of industries and functional areas. finance, medicine, healthcare, consulting, technology, energy, etc. So almost any kind of industry that you're interested in, we have some good relationships with. And of course, there's many, many more companies where our students have gone and done off-campus interviews and been hired to work for these companies. You notice, and I'm sure you recognize many of the logos, and I'm sure there's a company in the industry that you are most interested in. So if you are interested in applying, these are our application requirements. These are pretty typical for most business schools. They will have some variation of this. They may require a different number of essays or a different number of recommendations, but you will be, for the most part, any business school you apply to in the U.S. will have these requirements. So we're all pretty much doing online applications nowadays, so it's all electronic. There is one required essay for us, and there is a selection of optional essays if you feel you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself. We need your resume, one recommendation. Then we do require the GMAT or the GRE, no waivers. Everybody, no matter how much work experience or higher degrees they have to submit one of those scores. We'll do an interview with you, and depending on which program you apply to, that could be a recorded interview or a one-to-one interview, usually for international students via Skype. For the most part, we do require the TOEFL or the IELTS score. There are some exceptions to that, and you can talk to an admissions officer to see if you qualify. Currently, we do require one of those scores for Indian students, even though I am aware, and we are aware, that the primary mode of instruction in university in India is in English. We're trying to change that policy, but for now, we do require the TOEFL. And then, of course, we do require your transcripts from any place where you took 4 credit courses where you received a degree. And transcripts from schools outside of the U.S. have to be evaluated by one of the 3 credential evaluation agencies you see listed here. And different schools will have different policies on all of these items, for instance, the TOEFL, and which perhaps credential evaluation agency they work with. But for most part, this is the structure that you'll be expecting when you're preparing to apply to business schools in the United States. A special note about 3-year degrees. I get this question a lot. We do accept 3-year degrees to apply for graduate studies in some circumstances, not all. Just briefly, in those cases, we can get into more detail if you're interested. You can, of course, contact me. In those cases, we look for students who graduated from a school who was rated A or above by the NAAC, that's the Indian Accreditation Agency, and you had to have graduated in with distinction or in class 1 from your class. So if you meet those criteria, we generally will take your 3-year degree as equivalent to a U.S. 4-year bachelor's degree. We do offer merit scholarships. Different schools in the U.S. have different policies, different ways of doing scholarships. In our case, there's no separate application. You will be reviewed for a scholarship when you apply for a program. So, and when you find out whether you're admitted, you will also find out if you were admitted, whether you received a scholarship, and if so, how much at the same time. So it's quite easy. Scholarships can range from about $10,000 all the way up to full tuition. For the MBA program, that's per year, so they are renewable for the 2nd year. For the 1-year master's degrees, that's just a flat scholarship for that 1 year. Deadlines for our programs, all schools have different deadline kind of cycles. So don't go by this to assume other schools have similar deadlines. Our first deadline was in October. It has passed. Round two, January 25th, it actually just passed. So our final deadline that is available for fall 16 is April 1st, and that's for the most of the programs you see above. There's just that includes the MBA, the MS in Enterprise Risk Management, MS in Healthcare Management, Real Estate Information Systems, and the MA, MBA in Design Leadership. Just slightly different is the MSM, Master of Marketing and Master of Finance. They have slightly different deadlines. Round one and two have again passed, but round three will be on March 8th. So there is still time to apply for fall 16 for any of these programs if you are ready to apply. Again, other schools in the U.S. could have completely different application cycles. It does vary from school to school. We are currently offering application fee waivers, by the way, for Indian applicants who participate in webinars or online information sessions such as this. So if you start your application online, but before you submit it, just send me an email, remind me that we met virtually through a webinar or information system, and I would be happy to waive the $100 application fee so you can apply without paying that. Different schools, again, will have different policies on application fee waivers, but you can connect with the different schools that you're interested in and find out more. My email address is there, and I'm sure EducationUSA will be happy to share that with you as well if you don't get it, but I'll also leave it on the last slide. And this is my contact information I'll leave up while we're taking questions. Again, I'm Michael Cuneo. I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions. I do primarily bring in students, recruit students, and do the admissions process for the global MBA. And India is one of my territories, so if you're interested in the MBA for India, I'm the guy to talk to. I get to India about once a year, usually 4 or 5 cities I get to visit. So with the QS World MBA Tour, so I'm quite familiar with the various types of questions that Indian applicants tend to have, your questions and concerns. So feel free to reach out to me via email, via telephone, or even through Twitter. I'd be happy to arrange time to talk to you on telephone or via Skype. If you're interested in one of the other programs, I'd be happy also to connect you with an admissions officer that's responsible for example, the Master of Marketing. And I encourage you to go to our website. You can download program brochures. Most schools in the U.S., again, will have PDFs of their program brochures on their websites. And most schools, like us, will also have lots of opportunity to do online information sessions. So we do have program-specific online information sessions. And these sessions can be going through the curriculum for the various programs, going through the application process if you have questions about that, and going through various aspects of the curriculum. For example, I'll be doing an online session next week on Friday the 5th with some Indian students who just got back from their Innovation for Humanity project with the Global MBA. So I'll be interviewing them online, live, on video, and then they'll be taking questions at the end. So I encourage you to check our website, our calendar for those kind of projects, and get connected. And that's everything. So I guess now I'm ready to take any questions that you have.
So we are ready to take questions now from the participants. So if you have any questions, please type into the chat box. We already have one question, a couple of questions.
For the Global MBA, the tuition is currently $56,100 per year and that is for 2 years. But again, don't let that high price tag dissuade you. Again, we do offer scholarships. You do pay, tuition is due, to get to the second part of your question, at the beginning of each semester. So the bill, as it were, is divided by semesters, and then that's how it works. You don't have to pay everything for the year or for the program ahead of time. And any tuition, any scholarship you receive would be deducted from that tuition. So it varies by program. The average, for example, for the global MBA, the average GMAT is 650. We don't publish a cutoff point, um, the actual lowest we would go, because that varies by student. That things like your work experience, your undergraduate experience, can kind of change what the lowest or the GMAT score we might accept. But again, the average is 650, so you can expect that our students are in a pretty good range around that. Um, some of the other programs, for example, the Master of Finance, which is our largest program, actually, because it is our largest program, it's actually the most competitive, and the average GMAT score for that program is 710. So that's actually quite high. The other programs are in the upper 600s or around 650, like the MBA. So it does vary by program. That varies from year to year. In the batch that just started this fall, I have about, out of 90 students, I have about 10 who who have indicated they want to do the real estate concentration.
So that would be percent. I have a couple of
Yeah,
follow-up
10 out
questions
of
actually.
90 for the current batch. Right. And two, for the as of the second as of round one of applications, I have two people who are for 2016 who are going to do the real estate concentration. They actually are both Indians, and they're very heavily involved in the real estate agent industry in India already. That was round one. I expect to get a few more in real estate over round two, which just closed, and the final round in April.
Okay, great. So we have another question.
Sure. It's not for getting into the global MBA with no prior work experience. It is a little more difficult, but it can be done. Um, we do set aside we will allow up to 10% of the class to be people who have no prior work experience or under 2 years. So it can happen. It does happen. In those cases, we're looking for a higher GMAT score from you, a better undergraduate GPA, so a really good undergraduate performance. And we look for things that are like work experience, such as internships, really rigorous, significant internships, or rigorous volunteer experience. So it is a little more difficult, but we do have people who successfully apply to the program every year without work experience.
So Michael, I have a couple of follow-up questions actually. And first question has to do with the question that was asked to you about the tuition fee and financing your education. So this is the
Hmm.
time of preparing their financial documents to show to universities. So what kind of financial documents do you accept? What advice would you give to students when they financial documents? What are the typically accepted documents? What
Uh,
your
so that
program
actually
accepts?
happens, right? So for us, after you're admitted and after you accept our offer by making a deposit, um, you will be reached out to by the Office of International Students, and they're the ones that do the finances and will give you your issue your I-20 if you're eligible, which I've never had an MBA student who wound up not coming because they couldn't get the I-20 from us. But typically it's bank documents, any kind of documents or letters of support with corresponding bank documents showing that you have the funds to live here for the time for the year of it's done year by year for the year of your program. So it could be your personal bank statements, family bank statements, as long as they attest that they will be supporting you. So yeah, generally just bank statements are the kind of documents that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you. So that's valuable advice for those of you who are preparing your financial documents. It's the simplest thing is to get just a bank statement. That you were asked, like, what is the GMAT score that different programs look at? So I wanted you to give our students a sense of what do you look for when they're evaluating, when they're going through all these application
Sure.
documents.
So
What quality?
besides the G, right, besides the obvious, the numbers like the GMAT, your quant percentile, those are really easy quantifiable things that people look at. But for us and for most schools, I think one of we're looking for more intangible elements, ways that you have shown leadership in the past or an aptitude for leadership, ways that in the past you've shown that you work well on major projects in groups. So working well in groups on deadline-based projects, maybe project management if you've had that experience. You don't have to be a manager, be at that level for an MBA, but if you've had experience, leading your team once or twice, you should highlight that. We're really looking for, because of the intensity of your MBA experience, there is a lot of group work, there's a lot of major project work, and there's a lot of times where you need to show leadership and show initiative, another thing that's very important. So anything in your past, in your experiences. It could be work experience. It doesn't have to be. It could be at your school. It could be in volunteer situations where you've shown leadership, where you've shown project management, whether it's a personal project or in a group experience, and times you've shown initiative. In fact, our essay for our MBA program, we ask you to describe a time where you took the initiative to create or build something. And that's in the broadest sense of the term. A time where you saw a need for, it could be a new organization, a new process, um, a new even invention, any kind of thing in the broadest sense of the tangible or intangible, and you took the initiative to make that happen. You saw a need for something, could have been a process at your work, it could have been a club at your school, and you made that happen. That's the kind of thing we're looking for, because that shows that you're going to be, it's a good indicator that you have the ability, the drive, and the skills, soft skills to succeed in an MBA program, and then be a successful alumni from the school when you graduate.
Okay, thank you for that. So participants, we still have a little bit more time. Questions, you can type them in. And while we wait for some more questions, Baltimore's
Sure.
like, what it's like to live in Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
Sure. So, what it's like, Baltimore is a smaller city. It's about 500,000 people, which I know to many folks in Indian cities sounds like not a lot. Uh, DC is about 1 million people. They are both on the east coast of the U.S., on bodies of water, and we do have seasons. So be prepared for in the winter, cold and snow. In the summer, it's hot and humid, and in the spring and fall, it's in between. Um, they're both pretty manageable cities, easy to get around, very internationally diverse. With Baltimore, because of the University of Maryland and of course Johns Hopkins, we bring in students and employees from all over the world. So Baltimore is kind of internationally cosmopolitan, more than one might think. And same with DC, of course, because it's the seat of the US government. There's lots of international NGOs like the World Bank, the World Health Organization that are headquartered in Washington, D.C. So another place that's very international in uh, in its feeling and its vibe. They're both very close together, connected very easily by public transportation. It's about 45-minute commuter train ride between each city. So we're very closely connected. Baltimore is a little financially easier. It's a very inexpensive city for the U.S. to live in. D.C. is a little more expensive, being the hub of government. A lot of people want to live in D.C. or need to live in D.C. for work, so it tends to be a little more expensive. I've lived in Baltimore my entire life. I love it in Baltimore. It is a great place to live for me because although it is a city and has everything you'd want in a city, culturally, business-wise, financially, it is because it is small. It's easy to navigate. Um, our campus is in literally a newly built neighborhood in Baltimore that when I first moved there was probably a 30-acre empty parking lot, and it's been built up from scratch. We're in the lake. The school is in the Legg Mason building, right on the water of the harbor, which Legg Mason is a financial services company in the United States. So it's a beautiful, beautiful campus. All our students most of our students live close enough to campus to walk to it, or they live in parts of Baltimore where the school provides free shuttles to and from the different campuses. Um, that's one thing I should point out. You will find, for the most part, graduate schools in the U.S. do not have hostels or on-campus housing for students. Most graduate school students are responsible for finding for their own living arrangements. Of course, we help you with all kinds of resources to find apartments, to find roommates with current students or your fellow incoming classmates. I've never had a student show up to Baltimore or DC who didn't already have a place to live arranged. So that's not as daunting as it may seem. We definitely help you with that. But I did want to point that out. I get that question a lot. Definitely not for graduate schools in the U.S. Is there very often, very rarely will there be on-campus housing for you.
Great, thank you. Baltimore does sound very exciting. I visited Washington, D.C. A few more
Okay.
questions. So I'm just going to pull those up on the screen.
Yes, so we do have a MS in finance. We have those six MS degrees that I mentioned earlier in my presentation. Finance is one of them. We don't have an MS in management. But none of the one-year specialty master's degrees require work experience. So you can very easily come out right out of undergraduate, come out of university and apply to one of those programs. The biggest difference between specialty MS and an MBA is, I would say, the breadth of the program. So if you do an MS in finance, for the most part, all you're going to be doing is taking classes in finance. If you do an MBA, you will be spending the first year doing core business and management classes, kind of a managerial toolkit, a foundation in business and management. Then in the second year, you would do your concentration in finance and focus in finance. And with an MBA, you also have some opportunity to take, even while you're doing your concentration in the second year, to take coursework that interests you in other areas. Some people even do double concentration. So they'll do finance and marketing, or finance and healthcare management is a popular combination. You can't really do that with a specialty master's degree. Another difference would be in experiential learning. The MS degrees don't have the hands-on real-life projects like the MBA does. Our MBA has 2 real-life consulting projects during the first year. You wouldn't have something like that with the MS. And then the final difference would be because with the specialty master's degrees, you're concentrating a graduate degree into 1 year. Unlike the MBA, there's no opportunity for an internship that's part of the program. So if you do the MS in finance, you're only going to be doing classwork for 12 months with no opportunity for the internship. With the MBA, during the summer break, as it were, between the first and second year, you have the chance to do an internship in the field that you're going to pursue. So there are merit-based scholarships. We don't have a set amount of certain scholarships, so it's not competitive in the sense that once we've given out X number of full scholarships or X number of 25% scholarships or what have you, there's no more of those scholarships. So it varies from year to year. 1 year, 3 people might get a full scholarship, 10 people could get a 75% scholarship, and the next year it could be completely different because it is based on merit. How many students get it varies again from year to year. They range from $10,000 all the way up to full tuition. So it's more likely you would get a 25% or even a 50% scholarship. But for depending on the program, I can really, in that case, only speak to the MBA program, and I would say about 60% of, and 60 to 70% of our MBA students receive some sort of scholarship. For the master's programs, I'm not as sure of the numbers for that, but we're still pretty competitive with giving scholarships. Particularly now is a good time for Indian students to be applying, not only to the MBA, but to the specialty master's degrees, as we are trying to expand the number of Indian students in our programs. We're being a bit more generous with Indian students with scholarships.
Okay, so we are almost at the end of the time that we have for today. If any questions, you could type. You could also follow up if you prefer a more one-on-one conversation with Michael. His email ID is, so please feel free to reach out to him, for any further questions. And Michael, is that right? Have I typed it out? Email ID?
Yep. It's, michael.cuneo@jhu.edu. Perfect.
Okay, great. So I just want, I know that at the beginning, first 5 minutes, there were some issues with the audio, some technical issues. So I'm sorry about that. But first half of this webinar, we are recording it, and it will be available by Monday on this same very website. All you have to do is just click on share the previously recorded session. To take a moment to thank all of you for joining us today. And please join us for our future webinars, which are held at 4 o'clock. I especially want to give a big thank you to Michael, time out of his day, very early in the morning, and sharing his expertise with us. Participants, and thank you very much, Michael, for joining us for today's session.
Thanks for having me, everyone. Glad to help.